It has been one whole year since Battlefront 2 came to an end. In late April of 2020, just gone 1 year ago, Battlefront 2 was dropped by EA in order for DICE to go all hands on deck for their next Battlefield game. This is of course DICE's flagship franchise, which was completely on the ropes and being outdone in every way by its Star Wars little brother Battlefront 2. Despite all of Battlefront 2's triumphs since its rocky launch and the potential only just starting to be realised, it was all brought to a sudden end in what may have been one of the worst decisions that I have ever seen when it comes to the handling of a Star Wars game. Battlefront 2 started with terrible decisions that almost ruined the game in its entirety, and it ended with terrible decisions that left fans wondering why. Why would you stop something that fought so hard to get to a good place and then just throw it away? So today, seeing as it's been one whole year since Battlefront 2 came to an end, I thought I'd make a video on what could have been for Battlefront 2. Where would this game be right now if better decisions had been made? What would Battlefront 2 be like 1 year on from its cancellation if it never came to an end at all? We're going to take a deep dive into that starting now. But just before we do get into it, we have a quick sponsor for today's video that I think you guys are really going to love. This video is sponsored by Owner Saber. These guys make super high quality lightsabers. They've got a huge range of them and they have really cool clash effects. They've got really cool sounds and of course the look itself is fantastic, as you can see. Now there will be a link in the description for their Executioner lightsaber specifically, but of course you can feel free to explore their entire range. There's plenty to choose from. So through that link below, be sure to check it out, and a big thank you for Owner Saber for keeping the show going. But now let's get back to the video. So we all know the narrative. Battlefront 2015 was a bit of a hollow shell when it was released and got overall a negative reception. The game had barely any content, it was only focusing on the one era, it had no single player campaign, just little challenges which were bang average. And to top it off, it had a very expensive season pass. But for those who did buy that season pass, they were treated to probably the best content in the game, and by the time its final DLC rolled out, it was actually a pretty great game. Well, Battlefront 2 was the obvious next step for the franchise. Instead, this time, basically, they were going to rectify all the mistakes made in the first, and Battlefront 2, to be fair, did do that. It had all three eras of Star Wars, mainly Clone Wars content, which is what people were after. It was going to have free DLC, it was going to have a single player campaign, and it was going to have 2 to 3 times more content in each facet of the game. And to be fair, DICE did accomplish this. The only problem was the progression system was a pay-to-win mess that completely botched the game's launch and immediate future and absolutely tore the Battlefront name to shreds. So instead of abandoning the game when it probably should have been abandoned, let's be real, DICE got to work and salvaged Battlefront 2. A couple years of hard work, a revamped progression system, content fans wanted, content fans didn't want, and overall a solid repair job of all the game's shortcomings and its general stigma in the gaming world, and Battlefront 2 was on the launch pad to go places Star Wars games have just never been able to go before. The sky was the limit for Battlefront 2, word of mouth was great, the game was packed full of good content, fans were pouring in left, right and center, the game was becoming extremely popular. Like I said, DICE had literally done the impossible, and whilst we were in that peak period, EA went and cancelled Battlefront 2 in what was one of the most mind-blowing decisions that I have ever seen. I didn't like it, I didn't agree with it, and I certainly didn't accept it. And neither did the fans, with outrage burning for months and months following the cancellation, and fans still to this day are not over it because it was simply such a bad decision. Fans basically had their loyalty betrayed. People that stuck with Battlefront 2 through all the terrible times had been with the game through thick and thin, and when things finally came good and their time invested was actually worth something, EA swung the hammer on the game. So fans are naturally campaigning for Battlefront 3, which is the logical next step for the franchise, unless you hate making money, which seems like right now when it comes to Star Wars, EA want to do everything but make money. Because we haven't heard a peep out of them when it comes to the Battlefront franchise, their flagship franchise. Instead, they seem to be going for more niched options, which alienates more people than it pleases. And that leaves us to where we are today, 1 year on from Battlefront 2's cancellation. It makes you wonder, where would this game that was primed to launch itself into something special be right now if it wasn't for its cancellation? What content would we have seen? The possibilities are literally endless. Now, in order to shape together what we could have seen in the past year for Battlefront 2, we need to address the elephant in the room. COVID undoubtedly would have played a role in less content being added to Battlefront 2 over the course of the past year. But to be fair, DICE have practically made the next Battlefield game from home, so to say that they couldn't have done anything because of COVID is just objectively wrong. Although I'm sure there will be plenty of people that try to argue that. So anyway, COVID probably would have slowed down the content Battlefront would have gotten. Now, we know there was more content that the developers wanted to bring to Battlefront 2. We know this because after Battlefront 2 came to an end, developers such as the hero designer for Battlefront 2 talked about heroes that he wanted to make. The community manager would also hint at things that they wanted to do, but they just couldn't do it anymore. So there was plans for Battlefront 2's future. We were without a doubt cut short of what we were going to see in this game. And I mean, this is made even more obvious by the fact that there is literally a blank area in the menus where a hero would normally be. It's kind of a constant reminder that Battlefront 2 was just not done, not even close. And I mean, anyone who knows Star Wars will know that Battlefront 2, whilst rich in content for the most part, is missing probably more than it has. Whether it be mainstream content or obscure content pulled from the TV shows, there is a lot missing, and that's made even more obvious by the fact that the new shows like The Mandalorian have absolutely zero content in Battlefront 2. Nothing. So I think it would be fair to say that we would have seen Ahsoka Tano and Asajj Ventress as playable heroes in Battlefront 2 if it wasn't cancelled. These two were constant talking points and were widely speculated on for nearly a year prior to Battlefront 2 coming to an end. It fell into line when lead designer Dennis Brandval said that there would actually be female heroes coming to Battlefront 2, which we of course know that never happened. But fans immediately thought of characters like Padme, Ventress, Ahsoka Tano, hell, even Aura Singh and Maz Kanata were speculated on, but obviously none of this ended up happening. Now, even though Padme is probably more deserving of a hero spot seeing as she was one of the main handful of characters from the prequels, Ahsoka and Ventress were without a doubt the two that would have come. Now, I also believe that if Battlefront 2 had have continued through 2020 and into 2021, then we would have without a doubt seen content for The Mandalorian in the game. We didn't see it for the first season of The Mandalorian because DICE were already making content for The Rise of Skywalker, and the films obviously take precedence. But there was no film to contend with for Season 2 of The Mandalorian, so we 100% would have seen content for it. Now personally, I believe we would have seen a hooded skin for Luke dropped after the finale, and also a repainted Boba Fett skin, which modders, have gone and done anyway. I believe we would have also seen some maps for Battlefront 2 here as well. Now, I believe we would have gotten a smaller map for Moff Gideon's cruiser, which would have been cool, or one of the various planet locations in The Mandalorian. There were a lot of worthy candidates. Now, some people would probably argue that we would have seen heroes as well. It would be ideal. You could have added Ahsoka Tano and Moff Gideon if the Ahsoka and Ventress coming to the game thing didn't come to fruition. Moff Gideon would have been a great addition to Battlefront 2 as a villain, with his Darksaber acting as a counter for Saber heroes, much like the Commando droids do. And I still remember when Season 2 of The Mandalorian was rolling out and fans were just so angry with the fact that a golden opportunity was being passed up. Battlefront 2 was no stranger to getting content alongside film releases. It helps promote the film, helps promote the game, everybody wins. Battlefront 2 had done this for The Last Jedi, Solo, and The Rise of Skywalker, and I believe we would have seen it for The Mandalorian and Season 7 of The Clone Wars, which people tend to forget would have actually been a great opportunity to release some Clone Wars content to Battlefront 2. Hell, Ahsoka is basically the main character of Season 7 of The Clone Wars. That would have been a beyond ideal time to release her into the game. But that was just another squandered opportunity that just adds to the bewilderment of Battlefront 2 coming to an end, and that brings us to now. The Bad Batch is just around the corner, and I think Battlefront 2 could have without a doubt added some content surrounding that. I don't think it would have been heroes or anything like that. We need to be realistic here. They weren't going to drop a ton of content over the past year for Battlefront 2 if it was still going for very obvious reasons. But some skins at the minimum would have sufficed. So, where would Battlefront 2 be right now if it wasn't for its cancellation 1 year ago? Well, I think we certainly would have seen Ahsoka in the game. Some Mandalorian content, whether it be maps or skins, and possibly some content surrounding the Clone Wars Season 7 or The Bad Batch. It sounds like a lot when you say it like that, but we're talking about the span of 1 year. Who the counter hero for Ahsoka would have been, I'm not sure. It's out of Ventress or Moff Gideon. My money would be on Ventress personally. But that's where I think Battlefront 2 would be right now if it wasn't for its cancellation. I think it would have built off the foundations of DICE's hard work to get this game back to a respectable point, but no, we are left to wonder what could have been for Battlefront 2. It's a pretty frustrating thing, and I think we can all agree on that. The good news is though, all can be forgiven and the missed opportunities can be once again seized if EA just go and announce that game that everybody wants. And of course, we'll make them stupid amounts of money. That Battlefront 3 that everybody is after. We will get an idea if Battlefront is going to be playing any part in Star Wars games' future within the next couple months, so it could be interesting to revisit this video then, but I've said it before and I'll say it again, there is no golden era of Star Wars games without Battlefront. They botched it bringing Battlefront 2 to an end, but it's not too late to greenlight that sequel. So guys, those are my thoughts on what could have been for Battlefront 2 1 year on from its cancellation. I know I have talked about some of this stuff on the channel before, but I wanted to do a special deep dive considering it's been 1 year exactly since the day that pretty much all of us unanimously would like to forget. But guys, if you did go on to enjoy this video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got May the 4th just around the corner, and I believe we actually have an EA earnings call just around the corner, so there's going to be stuff to look forward to. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.